Hi, my name is Eitan, or Ethan Buckman. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at the Freightos Group. And if this is your first Future of Freight webinar episode that you're attending, first of all, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to attend. I know that there's a lot of webinars and a lot of videos going on right now. And this series basically started because we felt like not enough people who understood both logistics and technology were addressing the important questions that needed to be addressed. Even at trade shows, we felt like most of the technology presentations were getting taken down to the level of basics because not necessarily everybody was on the same page. And what we're really happy about the series and the attendees, and I've seen this from the list of people that have already registered, is that we're really getting a great mix of people who understand logistics, understand technology, and are very interested in having conversations around that. And because it's all about the conversations, I do want to stress that you're here on Zoom, and one of the most helpful aspects from our perspective, both for myself and from the attendees, is that there's a questions and answers and there's a chat section. And I urge you to use them. We will be looking at the questions, we will be answering them. We'll be there in order to help shape the presentation so it answers the questions that you actually have. I also want to take this opportunity to thank everybody who already submitted questions. We've really tried to work them into the presentation as much as possible. So talking about today's episode, today, we're finally going to focus on air cargo digitization. We've spoken about ocean freight with the Chief Digital Officer at Hapag-Lloyd. We've spoken with the Chief Digital Officer at Agility, with Eric Johnson from Journal of Commerce, with Alibaba. It's been a really fun ride, but so far, we've kind of ignored the air cargo side. And I do know, just from my past experience, that Robert Kunen, my guest today, has a lot to say about this, representing Air France-KLM and Martin Air Cargo. Robert is the VP Distribution and Customer Service. Robert, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about what it is that you do?
Yeah, thank you, Ethan. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you, and thank Freightos to have given me the opportunity to participate in this webinar series. And I'm really glad that you emphasize that also the air cargo part is a fascinating part, and we're also going to quite an interesting phase in our industry right now. So as you said, as you can see, I take care of distribution and customer service at Air France-KLM Cargo. I started this job in 2018, which is a little bit more than 2 years ago, when it was still, my title was VP Customer Service. And actually, at that time, we still only did a small part of our global revenues through our website. But since we have invested a lot, we have further developed My Cargo and also our API connectivity. And that way we are now able to serve our customers through a lot more channels than just customer service. And that's why actually we just finalized the reorganization at the beginning of this year and relabeled my team to distribution and customer service, which shows how interesting it is and how much is changing right now. So that's cool. What I do.
Yeah, and I think starting in 2018, this is just like a totally different world today, right? I think the challenges of 2018 are not like the challenges of 2020, and that's definitely something that I hope we can address during the course of the webinar. So just a quick reminder before we jump into the questions, what the Freightos Group is. We basically represent two different business units, Freightos.com, which is a freight marketplace, a little bit less relevant for this call, and Web Cargo, which provides software as a service for logistics providers and also is the largest platform to connect airlines specifically with freight forwarders for live pricing, capacity assessment, and eBooking. I had 3 or 4 people who responded to the invite saying, wait, what does that Web Cargo actually do? Because I understand that this can get a little bit confusing. So I felt like this is probably the best thing to show, which is basically if you're a freight forwarder, you can in real time put in origin, destination, load, and get real-time visibility into live capacity and rates from a very large aggregation of airlines. And of course, one of the first was Air France-KLM. I think it's a real testament to how quickly they adapt and I think how forward-looking they really are. So that's Web Cargo. And of course, we're happy to talk about it a lot, but not in the course of this presentation. I do want to jump directly into the actual question. So one thing that came up recently, I was talking to a reporter about eAWB and eBooking penetration. And I said, well, as long as I've been talking about this stuff, people have been talking about electronic airway bills and their penetration. It's been going on for years. And this reporter laughed and said, I've been in the industry for 20 years, honey. They've been talking about it for 20 years and it's still happening. And I think we're finally at the point where it's definitely way past the tipping point, and eAWBs are really out there, and most companies are using them. And I guess, Robert, my first question to you is, how have you seen the pace of digital adoption in air cargo change, right? If 20 years ago or 10 years ago, getting people to use eAWBs took a lot of effort, do you see any effort? We don't really need to make this conversation about eAWBs, but really about digital adoption. Where is air cargo today, and how has that changed recently?
Yeah, well, I must say, when I just saw the chart on the previous slide, you see that the penetration levels for eEW is around 68%. And I remember that I indeed was already working on it when I moved to North Europe in 2009. And then we made a business plan for North Europe where we said we wanted to reach in 2 years 90%. So seeing that today we are only at 68% worldwide, it shows how big a challenge that is. And I think it's easy to jump to the conclusion that this eAW illustrates that our industry is really conservative. And actually, I think there's a lot of reasons why eAW didn't get to the level where we wanted it to be already 10 years ago. And that's not necessarily an unwillingness to adopt to change. I think it's more about the technology used in combination with the complexity of our business. The air bill, as such, it goes through the hands of everyone in the logistics chain. So the shipper, the forwarder, the airport authorities, the customs authorities, the airlines, the handling agents, the truckers, everybody gets this document. And it means that if you want to make that digital, all of those have to make the change to digital at the same time, and all have to invest in their IT solutions to make the changes necessary to be able to work with this digital air bill. And it's extremely difficult to organize that in a harmonized way. And also, it was started in a time where the technology was at a different level than where it is today. It's all done by messaging, and I sometimes ironically compare messaging to sending postal pigeons around with a little note on their pole and hoping that it arrives at the system of the other and is interpreted right. So I think eAW is an early initiative in a complex environment, and therefore I don't think it's necessary that we don't want to implement it, but it's just very difficult. And in that respect, eBooking is different in a lot of ways. I mean, eBooking is around there for quite a while already. We had solutions like Unisys had a solution, Descartes had a solution already years ago. And that was also based on the same messaging technology. And I think still today, at least the Unisys one, we are still using that. But the downside of that solution is that this old technology only makes it suitable for regular cargo, where there's not too much things changing. It's quite predictable. And there's a large chunk of our business which is not predictable, especially in times like this. Mm-hmm. So the technology advanced a lot since. And I think what made eBooking accelerate so much is, first of all, that an airline can invest in eBooking by itself. You don't need let's say our customers, the forwarders who we interact with Booking, to invest in their systems at the same time. They can just go, for example, to our website or to your platform, and without any IT investments on their side, they can already start using it. So that means that we can take full ownership of our innovation agenda and run our innovation at our own pace. And then, and I think that's also one of the illustrations to me that our industry is willing to adopt and is not conservative, is that in a few years' time, our share of bookings made through our website has exponentially grown. I mean, in 2018, when I took up this position, it was around 8% at the beginning of the year. And right now we are already at 43% for July. I don't have the August figures yet, but I expect them to even be higher than that. So just in 2 years' time, almost half of our global revenues come in through our website. So yeah, that you don't do in an industry that's conservative. It means that our customers are definitely willing to adapt to a new way of working. It just is easier if they don't have to invest straight away in their own systems. And I think that's a big difference between eAWB and eBooking.
That's very interesting. So if I'm reading it, one thing you're saying is it's a separate environment, so we can do this ourselves, and I'm not you don't need to wait for other people to catch up. Which I think on the technology side, a lot of tech companies discovered, like 5-10 years ago when they started to use SaaS services, right? You could use Salesforce because you could just roll it out internally, and I think that's really interesting. I'm curious where you see things. 43% is a huge number, and I also heard this, shifting to the ocean side, but that kind of Maersk's digital sales portal is one of the largest B2B websites in the world because they've also been very successful, I think, at shifting customers over towards digital bookings. And I'm curious, what role or how difficult was it to change customer mentality to go online? Was that something that they were just kind of pushing at the reins to do, or did it require a little bit more of nudging along the way?
It certainly doesn't go by itself. First of all, the solution itself, the website, needs to be convenient. It must be easy to use. So we had to change our whole way of designing and developing the website. We have adopted to an agile way of working. We have actually engaged an external company helping us with UX design. That means designing your application from the perspective of the customer first, from the user first. And not based on our own internal processes. So that's the first one. The second one is that we really needed to get our own sales team along to promote it. And that is also a challenge in a way because at first our commercial team saw it a little bit as a threat. If everything is sold over the website, where is my job in the future going to be? Where actually we believe that the best model is a combination of the human and the digital. It's not necessarily that the website is going to replace all the jobs of our whole commercial team. On the contrary, it hasn't happened over the past years at all. And then the third one is that we must make sure that our website and the other ways of distributing our products are not competing with each other. So what we needed to ensure is that the website provides the same rate as the rate that you get on the telephone. And that's also a challenge in itself. And it means that we also needed to adapt the processes that our customer service people follow on the telephone to make sure that they come up with the same rate as the rate on our website. Because if the website would be more expensive than the rate people get on the telephone, people will try the website, see the rate, and then call us to get a lower rate. And of course, that undermines the whole success of the website.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. Yeah, no, that's fascinating because I think, if you contrast that to what you were talking about earlier, it's that what's liberating is that you can roll out technology like this by yourself without needing to rely on other stakeholders. But the second part is, even if you're independent from external stakeholders, the dependency on internal stakeholders to really make it happen and turn it into a full organizational shift becomes even more important. I'm seeing a question come in just related to this from Julia. How do you manage to actually align the rates to make sure that the ones that are given manually are identical to the ones that are provided online?
Well, actually, we have an algorithm that we call the best available rate algorithm. And we have not only adjusted the system on our website for our customers, but we have also adjusted the system, our booking system that our employees use. So besides investing in the customer journey, we have also invested in the employee journey. And we have a tool that we call rCargo, and that tool gives a whole user interface, a whole environment for our employees, where they are basically accompanied in the process of giving quotations, and they are provided the same rates as the rates that are provided by the website. And even in our booking system, it's not possible to go below a certain minimum price level. So a booking cannot be confirmed going below. And it sounds a bit harsh. And in the beginning, it also felt like, it takes away our room for negotiation. But it is, let's say, a crucial aspect to making the digital sales a success.
Great. So it's really internally aligning on both the technology as well as the processes in order to make this work out. So moving on to the next question, this is something that we think about a lot from a business model perspective, and it really has to do with the emergence of platforms, any industry where you have people that are selling directly from their own website and people that are selling from aggregators. And it's interesting because airlines actually, were the first to create this model back in the 90s with passenger travel. So you could see kind of in this chart, this is on the hotel side, and I'm sure it's changed dramatically in 2020, just with both sides going down. But there's been this like very kind of almost lockstep movement between hotel websites and online travel agencies that have kind of developed in tandem. And I'm curious from your perspective, right? If you're selling to a freight forwarder and they can come to your website or come to a third-party platform like WebCargo, how do you approach that, and how do you see that from a business perspective? Is that something you're concerned about? And also, what roles do APIs play in even making this entire environment possible?
Okay, yeah, actually for years, not even only the past 2 or 3 years, but really for the past 10 years, our distribution strategy was all based on the principle we want to be where the customer is. And in the past, it referred to our local presence in the markets, but nowadays we adapted that to the digital landscape. So we basically say, wherever our customer is, also online, whether he is in a platform or whether he is in their own website or on our website or in their own system, we want our products to be presented there, bookable there, so that the customer can interact where they want with us. And that led to a strategy for the last 2 years to work on our connectivity, and they basically to try and connect where we can so that all the channels are available to our customers. I must say that more recently we are adopting that approach a little bit because we do see that actually every channel has their strengths and weaknesses. For example, if I compare our offline and our online channels, our online channels, so the Freightos platform where we're in, or especially our own website, digital is good in speed, it's good in transparency, it's there 24/7, it gives our customers the service they want, when they want, just like that, it's real time. At the same time, our customer service teams have the expertise to help in complex situations, they have the relationships with our customers, and I think the strength is to make sure that we make the channels that we have excel on their strengths so that the customer will automatically choose the right channel for the kind of questions or transactions he's looking for. And in some cases that will be a platform, in other cases that will be giving us a call, and in other cases that will be looking on our website. So I think we are now more moving from an omni-channel approach to a multi-channel approach, and that's different in the sense that with omni-channel, we just want to throw our products everywhere, and in the multi-channel one, we kind of want to steer what kind of transactions we get in what kind of channels, and then making sure that the channels excel in what they're good at. And the role of APIs basically...
Sorry, Robert, quick question on that. In terms of that differentiation, is that basically on the product, like on an express level versus, or I don't know, on a premium service? Like, how do you actually run that differentiation?
Well, I must say, I said we started this year with our new distribution organization as opposed to customer service before. So we just started a few months ago having a channel team that's actually developing and designing a channel strategy and studying how other industries do that and how we should do that, and also what are the dynamics right now on the channels that we have. So I think if I would answer that question now, it's possible that in a few months, let's say the ongoing insights and the learning will lead to a different answer. But the way I see it right now is that we still want our customers to choose. And I don't necessarily think we should steer by disabling certain products here or increasing the price there. But it's more by just being good in a certain channel, in a certain part of the transactions we facilitate, and this way automatically the customer will choose the most convenient channel for whatever he wants to do. So that's like a hybrid, omni, multi, whatever you want to call it, but that's the way we do it now, and later on we will see where it takes us. It also depends, of course, on the cost of all these channels. That's also a difference.
So, I'm seeing a comment coming in from Ted on the Q&A talking about how the passenger and cargo customer sales analogy is a fallacy because the majority of passenger tickets are being purchased by individuals, whereas cargo is a business. To which I would, I myself would agree to some extent, but I would also say that clearly there is demand from sales portals for businesses as well. But I think that actually supports what you were just saying, which is that there's some types of businesses that like online portals and some that like their own website portals and some that will probably continue to make phone calls, I imagine, right?
It's true. At the same time, there's a lot of differences. I think the most important, the biggest mistake for people who just are in an airline switching from passage to cargo is thinking that passage and the cargo are more or less the same. They aren't. There's huge differences. B2C versus B2B is, of course, one of them. But there's a lot more. I think an important one is just the unit you're selling. On passenger side, you're selling a seat. That's one unit that you can really identify and how many seats did you sell? This much. Okay, boom, you have your load factor. On cargo side, you have the weight, and then of course the chargeable weight, the actual weight. You have the volume, you have pieces, you have different commodities. You cannot put horses next to some frozen goods or pharmaceuticals and stuff like that, which makes the unit you're selling much more complex. And like that, you simply cannot compare the two businesses as such. But
I totally agree. But do you see that as a technology challenge or an innate business model obstacle that will never change?
I don't see it as an obstacle because in a way it's also an opportunity. In differentiating channels, for example, but also, on passenger side, they have to do this thing called fencing to make sure that a customer who's willing to pay a lot of money is not taking the ticket of someone who just wants to go on holiday for as cheap as possible. So they have to play with all kind of conditions connected to tickets, where this whole differentiation of rates and products on the cargo side is basically dependent on the commodity you're shipping. So in a way, it's an opportunity. It's just different. That's I think, what is important. And that means that the models that work on passenger side don't necessarily work on the cargo side and the other way around. You just have to rethink everything and do what fits the business you're in.
Absolutely. And I'm seeing a lot of questions come in, and we'll get to some of these a little bit later on. But if we're stirring up controversy right now, just to ask another question that I kind of need to ask, and this is especially relevant, seeing the Maersk and Damco kind of news today that Maersk is, totally crashing the Damco brand and selling directly to shippers. Is that something that is on the Air France-KLM roadmap, or something that you're contemplating down the line of direct sales to shippers?
Direct sales to shippers. A question that's often asked because in the past, KLM Cargo and Air France Cargo have had some endeavors directly dealing with shippers, and everybody seems to remember that. That is not part of our strategy. We do work on enabling all kind of third parties to basically take up our products into their platform. So, for example, in the case of Freightos and WebCargoNet, we connect to WebCargoNet. And if in the end that leads to possibilities, for example, for a mix and match solution where a shipper in a platform can choose an airline product and a forwarder product and combine them together into a solution, that is something that I would not be opposed to. But we are not going to, let's say, bypass forwarders, because forwarders aren't only doing the paperwork. They have an important role in the whole logistics chain, and that's not a role that I see now somebody else than a forwarder doing. So I think the best way forward is to have a good collaboration with all the players in the chain today, but to rethink on how we present or the combined product to the shippers. And the digital arena is giving a lot of opportunities in that direction. So no, we are not aiming to directly deal with shippers. It's not part of our strategy. We focus now on connectivity with forwarders, doing business in a different way and using the opportunities that technology bring us to basically make sure that the combined solutions from forwarders and airlines are easier to do business with. Okay,
cool. Thank you. Thanks for answering that. And moving on to the next question, this is also something that I've seen a couple of people have asked in the chat as well. So we ran a research a couple of years ago and asked, what are the most critical factors to a shipper when selecting a logistics provider? So this is one step removed from the shipper to the freight forwarder. and reliability and cost. And I think that some freight companies would complain that it's usually about cost, and then the reliability is a little bit lacking with communications after that. And I guess my question is really about that communications, and I see that Achim also asked about that as well, where as you move more to a platform and you structure things a little bit more, what happens to the communications and to the customer support? Do you believe that customer service is something that gets digitized as well? Like, what is your approach? And I think particularly with the VP title around customer service, how do you actually see the role of customer service and digitization?
Actually, it's quite deliberate that we named the new organization not just distribution, but distribution and customer service, because we believe customer service is really a fundamental part of what we do in the distribution of our products. I don't think that digital will replace customer service. It will change fundamentally the way we do customer service because, let's say, as I said before, in the whole channel strategy, our customers will direct to the telephone and to our customer service team for different kind of questions than that they will go to our website for. Our website excels in speed, 24/7, real time, transparency, and all that. But when they really need to solve a problem or they have an issue and they need to basically, sometimes people even get emotional. A website is not going to manage emotions or really help customers that have some troubles to solve or some challenging shipments that they have questions on what kind of products to choose. So all that kind of guidance is what customer service will help for. And also, in this complex environment, we know that even if we digitize a lot, nothing is perfect. Sometimes things go wrong. So we would like our customer service to basically, when the customer gets stuck in the online process, to take over, help the customer out, solve their problem, and then allow them back into the digital environment to basically carry on with the journey they're following. Mm-hmm. So I think the combination of customer service and digital is really the best way forward. And for that, we need to change the customer service activities and train our people differently. And that's exactly what we're working on in the future. Investing in digital, but also investing in our people.
But does that mean, kind of the framework that I've always used to look at customer service is, when I buy something on Amazon, I don't, if something goes wrong, if I get the wrong package, and obviously this is a gross oversimplification, buying something on Amazon is not close to as complex as air cargo. But when I want something resolved, I want it resolved. I don't necessarily want to speak to somebody. So Amazon's goal is to standardize as much as the customer service so that you don't have to speak to somebody. Do you feel like your end goal is to totally reduce the number of opportunities or requests to speak to a customer service representative, like the long term, 10 years, 20 years down the line?
On the long term, I think in the end, it would be silly to think that we will have the same amount of customer service people. It will be a little bit less, but it will be there. And it will be different. And also the means of communicating can also be different. So we are also going to experiment and innovate, investing in solutions like WhatsApp solutions with WhatsApp customers that don't want to call us, but just want to chat or a chat function on the website or whatever. But the fact that a human is serving you in many cases is still adding a lot of value. And I think also in a couple of years, 5 to 10 years from now, in some cases, you really want to deal with a person and not with a website. And I must personally, in the B2C environment, sometimes if I deal with a company and things go wrong, and I can't call someone, and I have an automated chat box on their website, sorry, I won't buy again. Service, again, is the combination of human and digital. And that's how you excel.
Cool. Yeah, personally, when people have WhatsApp for business accounts, I love just sending them GIFs and seeing how their customer service responds to GIFs from Lion King and Aladdin. But okay, one day. So moving on to kind of one last larger question. We saw, especially in COVID in March and April, as ocean rates out of Southeast Asia stayed fairly stable, air freight rates went totally berserk. And this is one small snapshot, but obviously things changed a lot during COVID. Are there any lasting lessons from the air cargo kind of carrier perspective that you look at COVID and say, this is something that I learned to change going forward?
Well, COVID certainly has caused quite a roller coaster ride. And actually, It's not like we're talking about it now that it's finished. We're actually
Right.
still in the middle of it, of course. And I think, well, if you look at the two lines that you just shown us, I think the big difference is that air rates, a big chunk of the capacity for air cargo is on passenger flights, and those passenger flights, more or less overnight, just in a couple of days, everything stopped. Our whole network came to a standstill with only the little amount of freighters that we still have flying, but the rest simply wasn't flying. And I think what happened after, well, first, of course, we reacted very fast to have a good collaboration between the network planning people of cargo and the network planning people of passenger, to get into their minds, guys, it is even worth flying our passenger aircraft without any passengers on it, just for the sake of transporting cargo. And it's as soon as it was, let's say, possible to organize the trips for our pilots and to have the operations going, and it's profitable to fly an aircraft with nobody sitting in it, let's do it. And we did that. And actually, if you talk about lessons learned, it showed me again how important the distribution aspects are. If we organize a flight and to I don't know where, and our customers don't know it, it's not possible to fill that flight with cargo. So again, even though for a lot of people in the company it was a period of basically not working, or even in some cases labor times were shortened. But on the cargo side, we were busy like hell. We actually adopted our website with new solutions. We created a page where our customers could daily see updates on our network. And then again, seeing how much our customers are open to change. Because that page, we created it, let's say, one day, and a few days later, we already had thousands of hits per day of customers looking at our network page to see what changed, where are they flying, and how can I book my cargo. So this whole, let's say, the speed of adoption of our customers is higher than we think. The need to react fast and also to have a real-time solution for our customers, that is more crucial than ever, not only for tracking shipments, but also for providing information on our network. And we even created a solution to book charters. We noticed that charters, it's difficult for our customers to fill a charter completely just for them. So we had some kind of auction experiment called Kick Charter that in 2 weeks' time we developed and put it on our website. And looking back now, we flew more charters sold through Kick Charter than that we have sold through our telephone and email.
Cool.
So it shows to me how much potential we have in innovating and doing things different. And again, how much more open our customers are for change than what we think when we look at those eAWB statistics. Our industry definitely is ready to do things different.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just moving on to a couple of very quick questions to kind of wrap this up. Go to the next slide here. Sorry. There we go. So this was a question that somebody submitted. How do you overcome the lack of real-time visibility into available capacity in the market when applying dynamic pricing?
Oh, I have a very simple question. You don't. You cannot overcome that lack. So what you need to do if you want to be successful in eBooking is create this real-time visibility into available capacity. And that's exactly what we did. Before launching My Cargo, we went to a new inventory system. And part of that system we built ourselves. It's called FPO. It's a system where we take the shipment that the customer wants to book and we project it together with all the other shipments we have already booked on the capacity that we have for sale to see if it fits. Because sometimes when you look at the cubic meters, you think, yeah, it fits. But when you see that there's some long pieces that cannot be combined with some, I don't know, some horse stalls where you have a fixed contour, it won't fit. So by real time making the simulation for every booking we take, we can be sure that when the booking is going to be made, we can confirm it. Otherwise, we don't provide a rate. And this real-time visibility on available capacity and also the rate that comes with it to provide that real time, that's more or less conditional to making your e-booking and your e-quoting system a success. So you don't overcome it, you just have to fix it.
Yeah, and it's just using data smarter. Okay, this is a very important question that I like to ask. What's your favorite pizza topping?
It depends on my mood. So I don't really have a favorite and always take the same. I like a calzone and I like gorgonzola. Let me just say, and then it just depends on my mood and I decide last minute.
Okay, because if you said I don't like pizza, I'd have to end the webinar right now. So that's good to hear. Just because we only have time for another 2 questions or so. What do you think is the future for initiatives like IATA One Record?
I think it's crucial, especially in the scattered industry we are in, that we achieve some level of collaboration and we work together to create standards that help our industry to become more easy to do business with. And I think IATA is on the right track with One Record. They also are now embracing the technology that actually enables this, because this is also based on API. And we have actually last year been pushing from Air France-KLM IATA to expand the One Record scope to also include what we now call the Modernizing Cargo Distribution Initiative to basically work with a couple of airlines on a standard API endpoint structure. And we have already had a couple of sessions with 8 or 9 airlines where we have made great progress. And I hope that in the months to come, the first versions of a standard will become available through IATA. Cool. Free of charge, I hope. Yeah.
We'll see. Favorite business book?
Yeah, well, I'm not the biggest fan of business books. I have a couple, and some were good and some not. But the most fun one was a Dutch book called "How Do I Become a Rat?" And that one was given to me when I had my first management position. And it basically explains you how to manipulate people and how to undermine meetings and stuff like that. And it's hilarious to read it. And part of it is actually useful to recognize that sort of behavior and to know how to deal with it. So fun read to recommend. But it's Dutch. I don't know if they've ever translated it to English. But,
I'll get someone to translate it for me. I guess this was a question that came up, and I'll add a little bit on this based on 2 questions that came in. So how is customer engagement and also, let's say, booking capacity, how has that changed during COVID? Have you seen more bookings booked digitally during COVID as compared to before? And have you seen more customer engagement digitally versus, traditional channels?
To be honest, the engagement more or less exploded. As said, 8% of our business online in 2018 and 20% 2019. In February, we were at 28% of our revenue. And in July, so that's just, 5 months later, we were at 43. So it really upsurged tremendously. And I think, of course, part of it is because our customer service was harder to reach. A lot of customer service offices needed to close. People needed to work from home. They needed to work through email. And in a time with so much uncertainties, you can't wait. You need an answer fast. So the website turned out to be more convenient. And even people who weren't open to it before, well, check it out. And then, hey, this works well. This is great. And then once they're on it, they stay on it. So I think, the customer engagement definitely changed. And well, let's say it's then the few positive things that COVID brought us. It's engagement to digital solutions.
Cool. And, I think we touched on this a little bit, but if you have 2 seconds in terms of the level of prioritization for digitization by airlines, do you feel like this is getting a lot of focus, less focus?
Now for Air France-KLM, first speaking for us, COVID, well, besides the positive thing we just said, there's almost only negative things on the other side, and our cash position is worsening, and the passenger business is not picking up. So it's a deep crisis, which means that we hardly invest in anything anymore. Mm-hmm. But the good news is that the need is recognized to keep on working on digitization of cargo distribution. So actually this week, only a little, but I was approved a little budget again to start or to restart the development of our digital distribution tool. So I think that means that even on top level, it's recognized how important this is and how big the opportunity is and how much momentum we have today to make a change in cargo distribution digitization. And also,
Robert, saying that you have available budget is a scary thing to say on a call that software vendors might be attending. So expect a lot of emails. You're a very brave man.
Our external spend is still zero, so it means we are getting some developers internally that were working for other divisions and that now will be working for us. Let me just put it that way. So it's still blue money, as we call it, and it doesn't mean that right now we're hiring again and stuff like that. That also would not be suitable in a time.
I'm kidding.
Obviously.
Of course. Okay. Well, Robert, I want to thank you so much. This was a fun conversation for people that are listening in. We've obviously thought a lot about this at WebCargo and have kind of summarized some of these types of ideas in a white paper about this. You can find it at digitalaircargo.com. But Robert, this was so interesting. I had a great time, and the time really just feels like it flies by when talking about this stuff. So thank you very much. It sounds like Air France-KLM is doing amazing things, both in terms of developing internally quickly and also helping move the industry forward. So thanks very much for your time, and thanks for attending.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
All right. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you very much. Goodbye.